Hi guys, welcome to the daily analysis for July 30th. It's Monday, obviously, and we're kick-starting our week off here. I apologize if my voice is a little raspy. My throat is a little rough lately, so hopefully it's not too irritating or obnoxious. I'll try to get through this analysis quickly and cover the main points as we look to kind of check out how our week has started. But first, I have the news here in front of you. And I just want to point out that tonight we have major, odd, and New Zealand news. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on that. That tends to have a pretty big effect on the markets when we have those evening news announcements. And then tomorrow, we have 8:30 a.m. CAD news, which is the main news that I'll be looking at, but also some 10 a.m. red tagged US dollar news, which definitely can have an effect as well. Especially considering that it's consumer confidence, and obviously the way that consumers view things has a lot to do with how the market is going to be affected. So I'll link to Tony's video. Tony actually has a full weekly outlook where he goes into a little more detail on some specific news events. So definitely check that out. I'll link to that right below the video, and you can take a look at that as well. All right, real quickly here, we're going to take a look at our terms of agreement, and here they are. And basically, this just says that for legal purposes, you need to understand that the daily review is only for educational purposes, that we're not licensed or qualified or registered in any way to give investment advice. This is just our opinions and for your education. Okay, so it's very important to understand that, because, as I like to stress, the United States government is very strict about these type of things, and we do want to be within our legal bounds, obviously, to provide this information, because we want it to be a benefit and not a source of any kind of legal issue, obviously. All right, so if you need to pause that to make sure you can read all of that, that's fine. And then we'll jump into our analysis here. Okay, the first thing I actually wanted to show you here was a trade I made. It's a bad trade, and I don't think it was an overall bad trade, but the way I entered the market was bad. And so I wanted to give you an example of kind of what not to do here. So this is a euro dollar short that I took, and I do think that there's some momentum headed that way. And I'll zoom out to the daily chart and show you that I still think that this trade has a lot of good potential. But I'm always looking to make trades with tight potential and very large reward opportunities. And what I did here was I took an overextended trade. And you can see that my entry point is all the way down here, which is basically the bottom of this level, and it's not a good place to enter. And I have the 2-hour chart up right now, and you can see that there's been a lot of momentum. It's been very consistent headed in the down direction. So a lot of places to enter, and I got in pretty late for one, which is okay. I don't think there's actually any problem with getting in late, because I'm more worried about the price, really. But what I should have done is actually waited till my trend line was tested and took a short up here at the top of my lower trend line, instead of waiting for it to bounce off and get all the way back down here, because then I'm stuck with a pretty low price. You can see that if I would have taken, say, a short off the top here, my stop loss would have been a little higher up here, maybe up here, but I would have been able to lock in profit when I got down here, maybe locked it into here, and I maybe would have got stopped out break even, but would have had another chance to enter. Instead, I entered all the way down here, and I was basically in a deficit for most of the trade, which I still am now. I'm down about 15 pips, and my stop loss is in a little bit of danger. Now, I'm not risking a whole lot on this trade, so it's not a huge deal, but I definitely could have handled this trade better and entered this trade better. So that's a lesson. Just, when you have a lot of momentum and you're looking at a trade setup, even if it is a good setup, be more precise than I was here with your entry, because normally I think I would be more precise, but I just made an error here with the entry, and I would encourage you not to do that. All right, let's zoom out here and get into the daily analysis. So this is the euro dollar on the daily, and you can probably see here a little more clearly why I like this short entry. Now let me remove this line. You can see that obviously we have downward momentum. Everyone knows that in the euro dollar. But this 3-bar retrace here was a great opportunity to give the euro dollar some breathing room to head back downward. We got a very nice tail off the 50 Fibonacci level and a pretty strong continuation bar with today's bar. So for me, that spells short all the way. Now, again, I should have gotten a better price, but I still think this trade has some potential. My stop loss is in a little danger because it's pretty tight, but if I can hold on to the trade, I think that this is going to be a pretty high potential trade. Now, you can see that my target as of now is all the way down here. I'm not very likely to hit that because I'll most likely trail my stop if I do get into profit, and eventually one of these stop losses will get stopped out rather than hitting the hard target. But if I do hit this hard take profit, it'll be about a 15% winning trade, which obviously is very nice. So that's what I'm looking for with the Eurodollar. I think that this tail bounce off the 50 and continuation with the bearish bar is a great signal, and definitely something that I'm looking to see follow through in to the bottom here, which is about the 120.50 level. 120.50 is about what we're looking at. It's not exact, but that's oops, forgot to zero there. That's about the level that I'm hoping to, for Eurodollar to get down to. If it does, it'll be a really large winner for me, so I'm really hoping that that'll follow through. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the pound dollar. Now, we have a few important things going on with the pound dollar. The first one we have is an obvious downward momentum building, okay? And you can see that there's been a lot of power bars in this downtrend. Now, once we got down to the 153 area, we had a very strong bounce back in the upper direction, and from there you can see that we've had a sideways rallying back and forth from bearish to bullish directions. However, as we've rallied, we've kept two areas in pretty strong levels. So these have held intact as price has bounced back and forth, and you can see that right now we're at the top one, and it's trying to push price back down. Now, obviously, as a channel like this tightens up, you can obviously see that it's headed, to a V up here. But as something like this tightens up, these levels tend to get weaker each time because they're more likely to break the tighter something gets. If something gets all the way up in here and it's really tight, obviously it'll only be a matter of time before it breaks down or up, because as it gets tighter, the levels are more likely to break. Okay, so that's what we're keeping an eye on here. And if we had a stronger bearish bar today, which we don't, it's more of a stall bar, I would say that we're looking at short opportunities all the way. But because we don't see a lot of follow through there, I'm going to be waiting on that. And then if like tomorrow we start off with a strong first morning 4-hour bar in a downward direction, then I would look forward to taking that short and just targeting the back to the bottom of this level. So good opportunity there. Not as many pips as you might like, but again, you can with a trend line or a channel line bounce, you can be pretty tight with your stop loss and target to the bottom of the channel. And I'll measure for you here and show you that we still do have about 180 pips in this channel. So definitely something that's still worth trading. Alright, let's go ahead and look at the US yen quickly. Now, with US yen, obviously, again, since this rally in this direction, it's been all downhill. And that's been about since March. We've seen a lot of momentum, and this is a great trend because the peaks and valleys are relatively consistent. It's good pullbacks with strong continuations, and although that's not a trend that you like to see, like it doesn't look like this, it's still consistent in that each rally to the downside is followed by a pullback, and each pullback shows exhaustion and tops, and then continues downward. It's just something that's relatively consistent in trading, and you can see that the US yen is following a pretty good pattern. Even though it's not something that you could draw a straight trend line on, it's still following a consistent pattern, and for me that's good enough, to be honest. Now, you can see that our last leg looks to be exhausting, and we might be ready for a pullback, and I'm not going to be taking longs on any kind of US yen pullback at this point, but there is a possibility that considering how many bars down we've had lately, that it could be ready for a pullback. But the other thing is, it hasn't broken this low, so we're still looking for a break of this low before our next pullback, and that's something that we still might expect. Now, for me, because it's been down so much lately, but they've just been very small bars, it hasn't really made a very momentum-filled rally to the downside. Just been a lot of small bars. I'm not really confident in the momentum of US dollar bearish versus Japanese yen bullish, so I'm not really looking to jump in on a trade here. But I do want to point out one very important thing, even though I'm not really looking for a trade here, and that's this trend line. because this was an extremely consistent trend line. And you can see that the bounces off this have been very consistent, more so than in your normal daily trading. So to me, that means that this trend line has some magnetism to it. It has some power to it. And I suggest that likely because of the magnetism and the power of this trend line, it's going to be tested again. Now, whether that's short-term or long-term, I don't know. But I do think that because there is some momentum downward, that price is likely to try to get back to this trend line and test it again. And if that is the case, when you get a momentum break, say we get a strong momentum break, tomorrow or in a few days, I think that that'll probably be a pretty good short opportunity, even one that I'm looking to take, even though I'm not looking to take trades overall here. That would be an entry that I'd be interested in because of this strong trend line and the magnetism that I do think that it has. So that's one thing I would suggest that you keep an eye in, although overall I'm not extremely interested in taking US yen trades because I think the other pairs for the most part have better setups. And with that said, let's move to a better pair. Let's move to odd dollar. Now the odd dollar to me is a better pair to trade than, for instance, the US yen. And the reason why is because to me it's traded so technically in the recent past. And what I mean by that is you can see just as you look over how defined the channels are. Let's head it down. Obviously a very defined channel here. When it breaks out of the channel, it doesn't rally up, but it doesn't fake out and continue right back down. There's a choppiness, there's a small rally, and then when it does turn back around and show continued momentum to the downside, it's very strong continuation, which is what you like to see. When you have a downtrend and it breaks up and then shows continuation, you like to see a stronger downtrend the second time than the first time because it's showing continued momentum. And that's exactly what we see here after the break here with the odd dollar. Obviously, this is an extremely strong rally. And what's interesting is when something that this strong is broken, normally, there's some fake out and there's some trickery here, but with the odd dollar, it turned around off this, very strong downtrend and just started trending right back up very consistently. And so to me, that's the ultimate type of pair to trade, and I've just loved trading odd dollar lately because I think it's been very technical and very, easy to trade really overall. Now, even when pair is easy to trade, and I say that, in quotations because, nothing's really easy to trade, but even when something is following very close technical signals, you can still make mistakes because even within those, technical bars, there's trickery. But as far as what a trader would want, I think that the odd dollar is about as close as you can get to that as of right now. And so with that in mind, I would continue to watch these levels and continue to take advantage of, the trends and the trend line bounces that odd dollar is giving. And it looks like we'll get close to one up here pretty shortly, so definitely keep an eye on that. But I just encourage you to take advantage of these type of trends and opportunities when they show themselves, in the forex market, because to me they seem rarer than the kind of crazy patterns that we see. So I like a nice clean trend when I can take it, and that's exactly what we see here. Alright, I think that's about the last pair I wanted to cover. Those four major pairs are the things that I'm looking at, and especially the odd dollar. Just keep an eye on this. This is great trading. I'm going to put an exclamation point in here for taking advantage of, and just definitely keep an eye on that because I think that there's definitely some great opportunities to be found here. And and a trend that's as consistent as the odd dollar has been both in the down direction and back to the upside is something that can a lot of money can be made of, and I'm certainly in the business of making money, so that's appealing to me. Alright guys, enjoy your week. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of insight as to what to look for on these major pairs on this Monday. And I'll be checking in with you tomorrow. Hopefully my voice will be a little better and I'll cover a little more pairs tomorrow. But until then, have a great day. Enjoy your trading.